Let's go. With Stan and Neil Show. The Stan and Neil Show. The Stan and Neil Show. The Stan and Neil Show. With Stan.
What's up? It is the Stan and Neil Show. We are back with you on a Tuesday. Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. He's Stan. I'm Neil, by the way. We put a lot of hey Stan, we got to remind how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Tell the people about subscribing to the show.
Yes, I will, Stan. Thank you. This is what you've won at home. Become a subscriber to our Twitch channel. There are 3 different levels: rookie, all-pro, and Hall of Famer. No hazing if you're just a rookie. Listen, we appreciate you being on the team. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. I mean, if it's out there, we're on it. Communicate with us live via the chat. We answer questions and give shout outs. And we better give a couple shout outs, Stan. We got to give a shout out to Coach D for that jingle.
Coach D,
because if you can't dance to that, I mean, you need to see a doctor. All right.
It's an infectious jam. Let's give a shout to Goggle already in the chat.
There you go.
You can join the chat if you're with us on Twitch. You can join the chat. And please follow us on Twitch.
We got to shout out Jeff, Stan. We haven't given Jeff a shout out. He's 24/7 producing this show.
Yeah.
And then shout out to Justin, who's our champ of our chat room. So that's
Absolutely.
The crew, man. That's the crew.
Absolutely. Also, you can follow us and subscribe on YouTube. Stan and Neil Show. Do the search on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if for any reason you missed the live show on any Tuesday or Friday, you can always catch it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So we're always there every Tuesday and Friday for the Stan and Neil Show, and we really appreciate you joining us. All right, so Neil, let's talk 3-0 NFL teams. In just a minute, we got the Bucs. Baker Mayfield doing it all for them, leading them to another come-from-behind win in the final minutes. We got the Eagles at 3-0. Jordan Davis with that big play for them on the blocked field goal. We're going to talk about that. The Niners, how are they doing it and remaining undefeated? The Colts, maybe the surprise 3-0 team in the NFL. The Chargers also 3-0 for the first time since 2002. We're going to talk about how they're doing it. And they got the Giants coming up. Jackson Dart's going to start for the Giants. We'll talk a little bit about that. Bill Belichick, what's going on the sideline at North Carolina, and how is it affecting the program? And Mike Gundy out at Oklahoma State. So all that's coming up. But we're going to start with the Lions and Ravens last night, Neil. How about Detroit putting that one away?
Yeah, my recollection is a bit foggy. That's not a state secret. But somewhere in my brain, I've got floating around that you picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl.
I did, and I'm standing by it.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, they're 1-2 after Detroit came in. Detroit came into Baltimore a couple of years ago and got put on like 38-6, I think. And Detroit hadn't forgotten about that. And what we learned last night watching that game, if we didn't know it already, is Dan Campbell is not afraid of fourth down.
No.
And that Dan Campbell effect or affect, whichever one it is, or maybe it's both. That is a real thing. I mean, these guys are really revved up to play for him, and he had a huge 4th and short play on the first play of the fourth quarter. Went for a touchdown. St. Brown to Gibbs, handoff pitch, touchdown, and then a 4th and short later. Goff to St. Brown, the drive alive. Montgomery would eventually score. And I didn't realize this, Stan. They talk about the big 3 in the NBA. You got to have a big 3 to be successful. How about Detroit's big 3? Gibbs, Montgomery, and St. Brown. 10th career game in which they all had a touchdown, and that's the most by any trio in NFL history. I would not have guessed that.
No, I mean, you look at St. Brown and you try to figure out how did this guy fall to a 4th-round pick with his level of productivity. And those 2 running backs, I mean, Gibbs and Montgomery are just fantastic together. And I'll tell you what else jumped out at me last night, man. Penei Sewell. I mean, you just load
from
up.
The University of Oregon, baby.
Absolutely, man. You load up behind that guy. Man, he is fantastic. I mean, when they need to pick up something, they put Montgomery or Gibbs behind him, and he clears the way. He's such an athletic offensive lineman. I mean, he is fantastic, man. And the way they run the ball, if those guys stay healthy, they're going to be tough to beat because Goff is Jared Goff is fantastic in play action. Maybe the best play action quarterback in the league. And when they run the ball like that, it sets him up for play action. They got Jamison Williams who can beat you with his speed on long balls. Amon-Ra St. Brown does all the dirty work, makes all the intermediate catches, the slants and stuff when they need. And then Laporta, one of the best pass catching tight ends in the league. I mean, Detroit has it all, and now with Hutchinson back on defense and Al-Quadin Muhammad, Saints draft pick from 2017, never should have let him go. Al-Quadin Muhammad playing fantastic for them right now. I mean, the Lions and Brian Branch back there in the secondary. Lions got a lot of pieces, man. They look really, really good. And I had some questions about them. You lose both coordinators. You don't know how that's going to go. But John Morton did a good job last night calling the game for them. And they've given Kelvin Shepard the reins on defense, and unproven so far. But I mean, he got them to do the job enough to get a win last night. And
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, you were talking about running the football. They had 2 drives of 90+ yards. Okay,
Yep.
It's only in the 30-year history of the Ravens, only the second time they've allowed 4 rushing touchdowns at home. Lions finished with 224 rushing yards. The Ravens with 85. And, Lions offense has scored 90 points in the last 2 games. But what I was really impressed with last night, Stan, was that Lions defense. I mean, they bottled Lamar Jackson. They throttled him with 7 sacks. He was sacked 7 times. Jared Goff didn't get sacked 1 time. And Derrick Henry, man, that fumble thing might be in his head a little bit. That's 3 fumbles in 3 games. I mean, he was losing his mind on the sidelines. It was Hutchinson. You mentioned him before. He punched out that ball. That was a huge play. Henry had 36 yards and a touchdown on that opening drive, finished with just 14 rushing yards the rest of the game. And here's the thing for the Ravens and everybody picked the Ravens last night on whatever the ESPN countdown show. Stephen A. picked the Ravens, Ryan picked the Ravens, Van Pelt picked the Ravens. When everybody picks one team, and Van Pelt said it afterwards, he knew he should have gone with the Lions, but it was pre-produced. But how about Ravens Chiefs next week? I mean, one of those 2 teams is going to be 1-3.
1-3, unbelievable. But going back to Derrick Henry, he only played 1 snap after the fumble. So I don't think it's a situation where the Ravens are necessarily losing confidence in him, but it is telling that he only played 1 snap after that fumble. Now, he fumbled 3 times all of last season, didn't fumble at all the year before. So now if you're coaching the Ravens, okay, if you're John Harbaugh, okay, it's not like, you remember back in high school, if you fumbled on Friday night on Monday at school, at our school, you had to walk around with the football. You had to walk through the hallway with the football, and everybody in the school would try to slap it away. You know what I mean? And it was a reminder that you fumbled Friday night. Okay. And if it cost you the game, it's even worse. But it was like a shame thing where like everybody, like the whole school in between classes, everybody finds you and they're trying to knock the ball out, and you can't fumble again. You can't fumble in the hallway. But it was just a reminder. Now, Derrick Henry is a veteran, future Hall of Fame. You can't do that to him. You know what I mean? No. You can't embarrass him in front of the team, I don't think. You can't in the film session. I don't know if you can really call him out. I mean, I think this is a thing where it's on him. This is on him. He's a veteran guy, and he's got to protect the ball. I mean, that stiff arm is a great weapon for him. But we saw in that Bills game, he tried to stiff arm Ed Oliver, which that's not going to work. Okay, you're not going to be able to stiff arm Ed Oliver. Okay. Hutchinson made a great play on the ball last night. I mean, that was great. He was in the right place, and he punched it out. I mean, that's in some ways it's kind of unlucky. But I believe it was Devin McCourty or Jason McCourty, said that that ball needs to be up higher and tighter. For Henry. But this is a thing where I don't know that a coach can or should say anything to him. I mean, his reaction last night told you how much it bothered him. But the other one bothered him too. Yeah. And this happened again, and that's 3 fumbles in 3 games. 2 of them really costly in the fourth quarter. So they have to get that fixed. I mean, this is 2 losses in an AFC where 2 losses hurt. They hurt a lot. And so he's got to take that on himself. He's got to fix that because he's at a point in his career where it's not like he doesn't know.
Yeah. Well, he was in the locker. I saw locker room sound with him, and he was mortified. It reminded me in a way, and we told people, we'd share stories about when we were at ESPN, and one just came to mind, and it was Stan and I were on the set, and we were getting ready I was doing a bump to throw to top plays, or no, we were just coming out of top plays, and they did a music jingle, but they kept our mics hot or something. You know how our mics were hot.
One of those TV things that's just a bad idea.
Yeah, and so I can't remember. Let's say I'd said the guy's name was Scott Knight, and so they went to the music, and Stan looked over at me and goes, "Hey, it's Steve Knight," and I went, "Son of a bitch, god damn it!" And sure enough, the
my eyes
the music
are as big as saucers because I realized that our mics are still hot, but I can't tell Neil that. You know what I mean? And so I'm just kind of looking at him like, no. And he says it. I'm like, and I felt just awful for you because I'm like, if I don't say that, you know what I mean? If I don't mention the guy's name, then you don't do that. So I kind of took some of the responsibility for it because I'll put you in a bad situation,
Well, you always got to be smart enough on television. Your mic could always be hot. We talked about you could be a Hall of Famer, an All Pro, or a rookie on our team. That was a rookie move by me. But why I thought of it was because Azzy was our producer then, and he said in my ear, he said, "We'll take care of that at the end of the show. You can apologize." And I said, "No, we'll take care of it right when we come back from break." Because I was so mortified, and I apologized for it, and I never heard anything from the bosses back in Bristol, because I think they knew, and I'd handled it as professionally as possible, and that's what made me think of that was Derrick Henry, and
right.
And John Harbaugh doesn't have to talk to him. You could see Derrick Henry. He's a pro. He knows it can't happen. He knows it, he knows that it's hurting the team, just like I heard our show that night. I mean, for the longest time, if you Googled my name, that's all you realized was the guy said, swore or, used words he shouldn't have on television. So I think Derrick Henry will be all right, but it's a hard lesson to learn, especially this early in the season for a guy, as you mentioned, who's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yep. So the Lions are a little slow out the gate in week 1, but now they are 2-1, big win in Baltimore. Let's listen to what they had to say after the game. Okay, we got Dan Campbell. We're queuing him up here. But yeah, look, his energy, I believe, and his intensity is infectious for this team. And I think he may have had to bring a little extra, losing his coordinators. I think he maybe had to jump in there a little bit more and make sure that he keeps this train on the track that he wants it on with new coordinators. Yep. But so far, so good for the Lions. It looks like they're getting better. Here's Campbell now.
And the O-line, Decker, Mahogany, Graham, Ratledge, and Sewell played outstanding. Saint, Leaf, Jaw, Brock, defense, man, the D-line, Hutch, Muhammad, Tyleek, O'Connor, Lacey, Reeder, that whole group, Lopez and Wheat, Barnes, Nowowski, DJ Reed, Campbell, Alex, Zach Cunningham, Rocky Sin on special teams, Nowowski, O'Connor on special teams. So just a number of guys that played really good for us. And I think, like, when I just go back and look at it, man, I think if you just look at the fourth quarter, because we talked about getting ourselves to the last possession, particularly the fourth quarter, and we're going to have to find a way to win it. And, 15 minutes there, we get the 4th and 1, and that's, Sewell did a good job of capping it off, and Saint and Gibbs, scoring on that play. That was big. Defense takes the field, and, 3rd and 13, Barnes ends up getting the sack there. That was a huge stop. Holds them to a field goal. Offense would come out. We're 3 and out. We got to punt it, so we need help. Defensively comes out, man. Hutch, what a heck of a freaking forced fumble, man. It was outstanding, man. Stuff we work out here, and just for him, the effort to retrace. Reed gets it. We turn it into 3. Defense goes back out, 3rd and 12. Alex keeps Lamar kind of hemmed up, and here comes Muhammad. Gets the tackle for the stop. They got a punt. And then, we 156 left, 4th and 2, just outstanding by the O-line, David in protection, and then Goff and Saint just making a play, man. That's just 2 big-time players making a big-time play in crunch time, like they've done time and time again. And then really the next play, David rattles it off to really close it out. And then the last significant play was the hands team at the very end. And, Laporta comes up with a recovery, and Sailors and Stewart and TA had big blocks on that recovery that probably go unseen. But just, man, a ton of guys, and talk about complimentary football. We just, we played off each other, and when we needed it, the units picked it up, and it was a good team win. But now we got another task here in front of us. This defense is outstanding for Cleveland, man. So we're going to have our hands full here. Short week, but we'll be ready to go.
And I know that.
All right, so yeah, that team. Now, when you have a coach goes to the podium and he mentions the guys who made blocks to make a hands team recovery successful on an onside kick, I mean, that's how guys run through a wall for you.
Exactly. It's really interesting too, because Green Bay made Detroit look pedestrian in week 1.
Yep.
And then all we were talking about, you and I and the general public, how good Green Bay is.
Yep.
That Green Bay is so good. Their defense is so good. Well, they go to Cleveland last weekend, and the Browns beat them on a walk-off field goal or a field goal late. Good defensively, a 13-10 game, but they got to get some offense. And now Detroit is a 10.5-point favorite at home against Cleveland. And that Cleveland defense is real, but the Cleveland offense struggles. So it's a really interesting dynamic of the 3-man weave or the 3-team weave. And watching that game last night and hearing the fellas who were calling it, they said, somebody brought up, hey, the week 1 of the Packers, and Dan Campbell just said, hey, I know what happened in week 1. Okay. Right. But week 1 is behind us. We laid an egg, and, we're worried about week 4 now. And they won in 2 and 3. So they improved to 2 and 1, and they look good in the process.
Yep. Got the Browns coming up, as you mentioned, in Detroit. All right, let's talk about these. I got
a question for you.
Okay.
Do you call it Detroit or Detroit?
Detroit.
Right. So I'm looking, because a lot of people last night were calling it Detroit.
Detroit.
So I got online to look it up, because it's kind of like, some people say Nevada instead of Nevada, and they say Oregon.
No. So it is Nevada. If you say Nevada, it's wrong. It's Nevada.
Right. But now what about like New Orleans?
It's New Orleans. It's not Nolans. It's not. Some people say New Orleans. I mean, you can get away with that if you're being artistic about it. If you needed to rhyme in a song or something. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans?
New Orleans is out.
Nolans? No, don't say that. Don't say that. Anybody who says that they should have a hurricane thrown on them, just dumped on them. If you say Nolans, no.
Because I guess
we're gonna take your bowl of gumbo. If you come down there and talk Nolans, we're gonna take your gumbo from you. Don't do it. It's New Orleans.
No benet for you.
Huh?
No Benoit or Benway or whatever you call it.
Beignets. No beignets. No.
Yeah,
it's New Orleans, and it's Nevada.
It is, and it's Oregon.
Oregon, not Oregon.
And it's Honolulu, not Honolulu.
Oh, it's Honolulu?
Honolulu.
Honolulu. Okay, I never knew that.
Not Honolulu. Honolulu would be H-A-N.
Okay, so Honolulu.
So Honolulu.
Okay, I learned something new.
Yeah, I guess the locals can call it Detroit, and everybody else calls it Detroit, and the French used to call it Detroit.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but that's a French pronunciation. All right.
That's our linguistics minute.
Bucks and Jets, Baker Mayfield again. So now listen to this. They've had a game-winning drive in all 3 games, and they're the 4th team to win in the final minute in their first 3 games since the NFL merger. So it's becoming a tense situation for Bucks fans, but every week Baker Mayfield seems to find a way to pull it out. Steve Wilks is the defensive coordinator for the Jets, and Mayfield said this was personal for him because if you remember, Wilks was a coach at Carolina, and he moved Mayfield to 3rd string.
Yeah.
And he told him, hey man, we'll release you if you want to go try somewhere else, but you're pretty much done here. And so Baker Mayfield never forgot about that. And then there's Todd Bowles, who the Jets fired a few years ago. It was his first time facing the Jets, so this was personal for some of the Bucks. And they get it done again. They win once again. Their offensive line is banged up. The receivers are kind of banged up now. Mike Evans got hurt. So I don't know. You buying the Bucks?
I am buying the Bucks because we've talked in the past about believing in Mayfield. Do you remember the 2 quarterbacks that he was going to be placed behind in Carolina?
I'm going to say P.J. Walker. I remember, and was it Sam Darnold?
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
No, my mom used to tell me when I was a kid, if you could remember your schoolwork the way you remember football stuff, we'd have something here. But go ahead. I digress again.
Yeah, well, you mentioned a Mayfield stat. The 3 combined wins. He's just the 4th quarterback since 2000 with 3 game-winning drives in his team's first 3 games of the season. Nick Foles, Tannehill, and your guy from Atlanta, Matt Ryan, are the other 3.
I don't have any guys on the Falcons, past or present or current, or future
or ever.
Exactly.
Or ever, yeah.
Exactly.
I like the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about this last week. I got to shout out TG876 in the chat. Hurricanes being thrown on people. I feel like I'm back in New Orleans right now. And Dontis J says facts in the chat. So look, if you want to participate in the show, if you're watching us here live on Twitch, just jump in the chat if you have a question or a comment, and we'll react to them throughout the show. But you know what? We talked about this before. Baker Mayfield just has that thing that good quarterbacks have, and it's hard to quantify, it's hard to measure, it's hard to evaluate because you don't know until the guy's in the situation. But he keeps getting in the situation and he keeps delivering. And every time he does, I think about those guys in Cleveland on the radio. Those guys in Cleveland on the radio when Deshaun Watson was still playing for the Bucks and playing for the Browns, and Baker Mayfield had a great game. Watson had a terrible game. And the first call on their morning show is a guy calling up about their respective quarterback ratings, and the host just goes, "Oh, I'm not doing this today. He's not coming back. We can't undo the trade. He's not coming back." Because I think everybody in Cleveland kind of knows now they overreacted. And I think if they had a do-over there, they'd still have Baker Mayfield on their team. But man,
do you ever have anybody in your personal or professional life make it personal about your professional endeavor, like light a fire under you by kind of dissing you? The way that Wilks did Mayfield?
I have to think about it. I don't think so. I've kind of always kind of been the self-motivated type where I just kind of feel like, hey, I gotta get myself started. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. I just gotta kind of do it. Along the way, I mean, you get little perceived slights, but the overarching thing for me has always been kind of self-motivation that, like, hey, you'll show everybody over time if you just stick to what you're doing, what you need to do. So, I try not to give anything that kind of power. How about you?
Yeah, I've had it a couple times. I wish I'd heard you speak before I had those, dude, because I would have liked to have handled them the way you just said you would. I took them real personal.
Like what?
Well, I had a news director in Hawaii basically tell me he didn't think I had any future in this business.
And then jokes on him.
Yeah, and I had an executive at ESPN who kind of did the same thing to me. So, but it motivated it lit a fire under me, so I guess it was a good thing because I'm lacking in motivation more often than not. So it gave me extra motivation, and here we are now. But I thought of that.
I mean, LA, us moving to LA did give me some motivation, but it was more of a positive motivation. Like, hey, man, you know, we got an opportunity now. That's all we did. Because, like, as much success as we had, you know, at ESPN as a team doing the LA Sports Center, and you know, we were chosen to do that, but I don't feel like we were ever the chosen ones, you know, at ESPN.
No.
I don't think we ever got the, you know, the hand on the back, say, okay, you guys just take this and run with it, and we're going to pay you $1 zillion to do it. You know, like that was never us. We had to fight and scrap for everything. But you know, I think in a way it kind of helped us bond a little bit more. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. We were both, you know, we were with the, you know, in the 7th round, so, I mean,
they had 2 7th round picks and they took us 2.
There you go. Well, listen, Mayfield gets it done. Tampa Bay improves to 3-0. They host Philadelphia this weekend. The Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite in that one, and the Eagles are living right, Stan. I mean, the Rams are going to kick the game-winning field goal, and all we've been talking about is how field goals are gimmies this day, and then Jordan Davis, who looked like a bulldozer coming right up the middle, not only blocks it, he recovers it, and he returns it. Touchdown ball game. And all I could think of was Boomer going, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, you know, doing that, doing his call with Jordan Davis coming down. But, you know, the Rams were up 26-7 in the 3rd quarter on this one, and that's the 2nd largest home comeback win ever for the Eagles. Hurts was great. A.J. Brown was great. And the Eagles, you know, they got that championship groove going.
Now, I don't know if you saw Drew Brees on ESPN this morning. And Drew Brees says he doesn't have Jalen Hurts among his top quarterbacks. And he said that the Eagles offense is boring. He hates watching their offense. You know, now, you know how I feel about Drew Brees being a Saints fan.
Yeah.
But I think he's missing the mark here because, look, the Saints played a brand of offense that was beautiful to watch when Brees was there with Sean Payton. I mean, it really was. It was, you know, I used to call it the machine. I mean, once that machine got cranking, especially when they had Jimmy Graham and Sproles and Colston and, you know, those guys. I mean, it was something to behold. But, you know, Herm Edwards said you play to win the game, and Jalen Hurts plays to win the game. You know, they don't really get lost in stats in Philly. He's never going to lead the league in passing yards. And, you know, A.J. Brown and some of the other guys may not get the numbers that they like, or maybe it all sorts out by the end of the year, but you can't argue with the results. They keep winning games. You know, there was a conversation earlier in the season about, is Jalen Hurts in the top 10? Well, you know, who cares? I mean, it's a team game. Everybody wants to contribute individually and do great things individually to help the team win. But it's to help the team win. And so many of the things that he's doing are designed to help the team win. And I agree. It's not pretty a lot of the times. I mean, it was pretty in the second half.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't pretty in the first half. But they keep winning. And that's the objective.
Did you see that picture? They had a camera on Jalen Hurts. So he's watching the kick. The kick's going to win the game for the Rams. Davis comes through, crushes everybody, boom, carrying back. Everybody's going nuts. Jalen Hurts never broke the look. He was just like, I mean, he could have been watching a test pattern on a television screen. He never raised his hands. He never smiled. He just, boom. He was just, I mean, cool is the rule. That dude was cool right there when everyone was going crazy.
But I'm going to tell you, though, okay? Now, I don't want to be that guy, okay? But the correct football play would have been for Jordan Davis to get down, okay? The game's over. You won the game, okay? But he's got the ball, and, like, I'm not going to be the one to tell him stop running. You know? I'm not going to be the one to tell him don't go get a touchdown. But, you know, let's just say a receiver runs him down and pokes that ball out, and then they run it back. I mean, look, it's far-fetched. It really is far-fetched.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what Jalen Hurts is thinking. I don't know, because Leon Lett did cross my mind. You know, when he's running for the touchdown in the Super Bowl at the time, and the guy runs, I think it was BB, ran him down and poked the ball out. But look, it was another win for Philly, and they got it done, and they do it their way, and it doesn't matter how you do it, it's that you do it. And so until somebody says, "Hey, look, we beat that ugly offense," or we beat that Philly way of winning, and it didn't work this time, then you got to take your hands off to Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and that whole crew, because they're getting the job done. And at the end of the day, it's, did you put a W in the column?
Yeah. Hey, Stan Brodero messaged us and said, "Would you guys ever go back to ESPN if they came a calling?" That's a good question.
How much?
How much? Are they opening? Are we reopening the LA office?
Right. Are we reopening LA? And then how much? And then how much? Yeah,
it was it was a great run, man. It was a great run, and it led to this. Me and Stan getting to do this, so it's all good.
Dragon Jim in the chat shouting out the Bills, and B Soul says Hurts is all business. He's unreal. Absolutely, all business, and that business is booming right now. Hey, how about the Niners beat the Cardinals to get to 3-0? Another game that came down to the final seconds there. Kyle Shanahan is what he's doing is really unbelievable. When you think about what they don't have, they knew they wouldn't have Brandon Ayuk. Okay, so he hasn't played yet. Kittle got hurt. He's got a hamstring, I believe. Okay, and then Juwan Jennings hasn't been 100%. And then they lose Purdy. Mac Jones gets pressed into duty, and they just keep rolling right along. They beat an Arizona team that's pretty good. I mean, I saw them against the Saints in Week 1. Arizona's pretty good. Kyler Murray is looking good, but Kyle Shanahan's doing an unbelievable job coaching the Niners so far. For them to be 3-0 with all the injuries, it's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, Apple didn't fall from the tree. Those of us that are standing my age remember his daddy, Coach John Elway, to a couple Super Bowl wins when Pat Bowlen owned the team, and now they lose Bosa. Bosa's done for the season.
Yeah, they're gonna have to figure out something on defense.
Yeah, same ACL that he tore before. So, but the 49ers, there's just something about that pedigree. It's lasted the test of time. They got Jacksonville this weekend. Jacksonville's visiting San Francisco, which is really Santa Clara. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, it was so great.
I feel a rant coming. What do we got?
I mean, there's not the juice that Candlestick had. Now, granted, Candlestick, it gets so cold sometimes there because on the water, but that's where the baseball stadium is. It's such a beautiful stadium. The football stadium is right next door. Now it's in Santa Clara. Where is Santa Clara? I
think it's south of San Francisco. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is, but
it's in the Bay Area. It's in the Bay Area.
Well, I mean, that's given the Bay Area a lot of leeway to call itself the Bay Area. It's just, I don't know.
B Soul says it's at the San Jose airport, basically, in the chat. Thank you for that. It's at the San Jose airport. So, I mean, look, their slogan is faithful to the Bay. You know what I mean?
Oh, all right.
And I mean, it's San Francisco. That's the city. You know what I mean? As they call it in the Bay Area. So that's the town they represent. But it's kind of like, hey man, Candlestick wasn't producing the kind of revenue that these owners are demanding now. I mean, it's all about luxury suites and amenities and every last revenue stream NFL owners can find. And so whichever city is going to help out, with some of the building funds, maybe a tax to help get it done. I mean, they're going to the highest bidder. I mean, the Bears are going through that now. The Bears are going to move out to the suburbs as well from Soldier Field. I mean, one of the iconic stadiums in the league, but revenue rules.
Yeah, because the TV deal's not enough.
I mean, it is, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's like
if some is good, more is better.
There's never enough money.
Stan, I believe in the 49ers. You believe in the Colts? 3-0. They lead the NFL in scoring. Haven't turned the ball over once this season. I think they punted one time this season. And they got Daniel Jones, the giant reject at quarterback.
You know who I think? I think about the Giants brass. Did you see Hard Knocks when
No, I didn't.
when the Giants were on Hard Knocks? It was all about that offseason with Saquon, and they're trying to make the decision about Saquon Barkley. You know, and you actually see the phone call where they basically say, "Hey Saquon, you know, we're gonna move on," and you see them make that decision during Hard Knocks. That was part of the drama of that season of Hard Knocks. And so now I'm thinking, you know, and there's this iconic shot of the president and the GM in the office, and they're just kind of looking there like, you know, what have we done? You know, we just let Saquon Barkley go. Now they got to be doing the same thing about Daniel Jones. I mean, but they knew Saquon Barkley was really, really good, and they knew, hey, we're choosing not to pay for a guy we know can get it done. But they had already invested all this money in Daniel Jones, and then they said, after they let Barkley go, okay, well, Jones is no good either. So they let him go. And now Daniel Jones is there. And I tell you, Jonathan Taylor, man, I don't know if he gets the credit he deserves as a running back. Man, that dude can break a tackle. And if you break the tackle, forget about it.
Yeah. He's got a league-leading 338 yards. And it's interesting because the Giants hired Brian Daboll, I believe, the year after they drafted Daniel Jones. So Jones wasn't his pick, but they hired Daboll because he was considered a quarterback whisperer for what he had done with Josh Allen. Well, now you got to wonder if maybe that was more Josh Allen and less the coach, because if he was whispering to Daniel Jones wasn't understand. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? No, he wasn't doing it. Giants benched him last season. So then he goes to the Colts to back up Anthony Richardson, and nobody had him beating him out. He beats out Richardson, and now he's, you know, one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. And you wonder if is the fairy tale going to end, or is he the real deal? And he's going to get a big test this weekend because Indianapolis is at the Rams.
Oh yeah,
and the Rams have got to be licking their wounds after giving that Eagle game away.
Yeah, that Rams defense, man, is something special. Those young pass rushers that they have. So they have to lean on Jonathan Taylor. But boy, that's going to be a prove-it game for the Colts. Okay, are you for real? Okay, well, let's come here to SoFi and beat the Rams on their turf, and then I think the Colts open up more eyes than they already have. You know, Chargers 3-0 for the first time since 2002, first time in 23 years. You know, I saw Colin Cowherd's say last week that he thinks Jim Harbaugh, not Belichick or not Vince Lombardi, Jim Harbaugh may be the greatest coach ever in the history of football, college and pro combined. Now, I think he may have just said it for clicks. I don't know if he really believes it. He may have just said it for clicks. Maybe we'll get some clicks because we're repeating it. I'm not buying it. I mean, but hey, you can't argue with the job that he's done so far. Justin Herbert leading the NFL in passing yards so far. First time they've been 3-0 since 2002, and their defense, man, is really getting the job done. I mean, I love Derwin James.
Yep.
I shot a commercial with him. I shot a commercial with him last year. Yeah, we played video games. We played video games on this commercial, and he's fantastic dude. I mean, really, really good dude, and easy to root for. But I mean, he can do it all on defense. I mean, we talk about game records, and usually they're a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage than Derwin James is, but Derwin James is a game wrecker at safety.
Yeah, Jesse Minter is well regarded. He's the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. Now the Chargers are going to have to go the rest of the season without Najee Harris, one of those Achilles injuries that are, man, the Achilles popping. Yeah, no pun intended. Popping in the NBA. We had three major dudes go down with Achilles. Now you got I think two this last week in football, and it's just it's a rough sport.
Maybe they're taking Tylenol. Who knows? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe NFL players are taking Tylenol. They need to stop.
Tylenol will take you as Tylenol. We will take you as a sponsor. So if you're feeling no love,
we are joking. We are joking.
The thing about the Chargers is they gotta go east early, and that's a tough. They got the 10 a.m. game. But they play the Giants And now the Giants are going to start the rookie Jackson Dart against this Chargers defense. And no offense, Stan, but I think they might have been better off to wait till week 5 when it's Giants Saints. Be a little not as tough as sledding for Jackson Dart. Not that I wouldn't be rooting for the Saints, but I just think you throw this kid into the. He hasn't thrown a pass yet in the NFL.
Well,
and now he's going to go against that Charger defense.
Yeah, look, he's got his hands full, and they can throw all sorts of stuff at him. And especially when, like, the first thing a quarterback does is you identify the middle linebacker and then watch what the safeties are doing. They can confuse him with Derwin James because he's all over the place. But I tell you, 2 things. First of all, he looked great in preseason. Like, it's a very small sample size. I understand that. But the time he was in there in preseason, he really looked the part. Okay. So take that for what it's worth. We'll see what it's like when the games really count. Okay. But I interviewed him last year for SportsCenter when he was at Mississippi. And he was so impressive as a guy who could be the face of a franchise. Like, you listen to him talk, you look at his demeanor, like all the sort of leadership kind of stuff and the dealing with the media kind of stuff, he seems like he has all of that down pat. I don't know if that's naturally who he is or if he got some media training, at USC or in Oxford there when he's at Mississippi, but he has that part down. And from what I've seen during the preseason, he looked really, really good. And look, we've talked about this before. There's 2 schools of thought. Do you let a guy sit or do you press him into action early? Okay. But if you move up, he was the number 25 overall pick. Okay. So you spent a first round pick on him. Okay. You have to put the organizational support behind him, I believe, as quickly as you can so that you can find out. Because let's say you wait a year or you wait 2 years and you let him sit and he gets out there and he's still not the answer. Okay. Well, now you're 3 years in, you've made no progress. Okay. And you may find out in year 4, okay, we got to go get somebody else. And we got to let this guy go. I mean, I am increasingly of the opinion that you put him out there. You put him out there and you take your lumps. You do the Peyton Manning, Troy Aikman approach. You throw him out there week 1. You let him learn on the job. Aikman, one of them went 3-13 and one of them went 1-15. Their first year.
Aikman was 1-15.
Yeah. Aikman was 1-15. Peyton Manning was 3-13. Okay, but it all worked out. Okay, so I'm increasingly believing that if you believe a guy has enough potential for him to be the draft pick, for him to be a first round pick, I think you get him as ready as you can in the preseason, and then you put him out there in week 1 and let him learn on the job. Now the problem with that is coaches and GMs don't want to have a 1-15 season or a 3-13 season because it goes on their record, and it could cost them their job. Okay, so they're sort of reluctant to do it, but I think if you make that move, then as a coach, as a GM, you have a talk with ownership and you say, listen, if you sign off on this guy being our guy, okay, if you trust our judgment, you got to give us 2 or 3 years to make this work. You have to understand that, look, this may not happen this year, but we both need the leeway to guide him through this. And look, if they think Jackson Dart's the guy, do it now. Do it now. I got no problem with it. Always been a Russell Wilson fan. Always been a Jameis Winston fan. But if you believe he's the guy enough for you to take him in the first round, put him out there.
Now, does Russell Wilson go to? Does he get the Baker Mayfield treatment in Carolina? Does he fall to 3rd on the depth chart? Do you think?
No, I think he'll still be the backup. But I tell you what, if I'm Cincinnati, I'm making a call. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm like, hey, let's at least as a backup, what are you gonna do with Russell Wilson? Maybe even Jameis Winston, because I tell you what, Jameis Winston with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that'd be fun to watch. It'll certainly be fun to watch. There's going to be some interceptions in there maybe, but I tell you what, he's not afraid to throw it, and those guys will go up and get it. So if I'm Cincinnati, I'm making a call because I don't think I don't think they're Jake Browning. I don't think that's the answer after seeing what happened on Sunday.
Yeah, they got their you know what handed to them Sunday. The Bengals did. So you think Dart's got the it factor, and Dable and the GM, they're fighting for their professional lives right now. They need something out. This is their guy. So now Daniel Jones wasn't my guy. This is my guy, and I would think probably 2 years if he's not the guy, then everybody's gone.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I think they got to go upstairs and say, listen, was it Mara owns the Giants? They got to go upstairs. They got to say, listen, okay, we're going with this guy. It may not happen this season. So don't go firing us. Don't go firing us after this season. If we only win a couple of games the rest of the way, let's ease him in and get him going, and it's going to pay dividends, a couple of years down the line. So it's a situation to watch, but based on a very small sample size in the preseason, and just from talking to him, I told him after the interview, I said, hey man, you got the whole face of the franchise thing down media-wise. I told him after we were off camera because I was that impressed with him in talking to him. So we'll see. We'll see if it works out. Auntie Eel in the chat, Aaron Rodgers, thoughts?
What are they, 2-1? I mean, he won it. He won at New Jersey. Who's Pittsburgh got this weekend? They've got where are they on my sheet? Oh, they got Minnesota at Pittsburgh. Minnesota's favored, so they're begging you to take Pittsburgh at home.
Minnesota's favored?
Minnesota's favored by 2.5 on my sheet. Now, what is that? Is that game over in Europe or over in London or something?
Oh, no. That's in is it Ireland? I think it's in Ireland.
So what happens there? Do the Steeler fans lose a home game?
If whoever's the home team, you lose a home game. Exactly. Hey Jeff.
So you gotta buy
where's
when
that
you buy
game? Is that
tickets,
game in Ireland? I think it's in Ireland.
So when you buy tickets to the Saints, and if they're traveling and going to play in Timbuktu, and you got no desire to go to Timbuktu to watch them, then you got to pay for that game, even though you got no chance of going.
Well, yeah. It's in Dublin. It's in Dublin. And Steelers are the home team, so they lose a home game.
Yeah, Steelers.
But you know what?
Wow.
I've done it. I've been to 3 Saints games, all in London.
Yeah.
They've all been in London. 2 at Wembley and 1 at Tottenham. So if the Saints play internationally, I'm going. I'm going. It's a chance to travel and see a new place, and go to a Saints game. I'm going every single time. Every single time. Doesn't matter where it is. Brazil, I'm going. Germany, I'm going. Ireland.
I won't even go to Anaheim.
Hey, like I told my wife when we met, I said I'm a totally rational person. I'm pretty much a normal guy, except for golf and the New Orleans Saints. Then I'm a madman. Okay, so that's my sickness. I'll go anywhere to see the Saints play. Doesn't really matter where it is. But I love to travel too. So it's the best of both worlds. I actually look forward to it. I was kind of sorry that they didn't get an international game this season.
Stan, I was looking at the New England Patriots are 1-2, and that got me thinking about the former New England Patriots coach. What's Bill Belichick been up to lately?
Oh boy, he's making more headlines for the off the field stuff than he is for the on the field stuff. Now, this is a guy who, when he was with the Patriots, it was all about avoiding distractions. But that what you see on your screen right now, I would think that that qualifies as a distraction, wouldn't you?
Now, is that a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, or who is that?
That is Jordan Hudson, his 24-year-old girlfriend. And look, I bring up the fact that she's 24 because she is, okay? But that's 2 adults. It's their personal business. The age difference between, hey, if they're happy, if they like it, I love it. Okay, so everybody else, from my standpoint, mind your business about the personal nature of it. But when it comes down to this is pregame, before they played UCF and got smoked 34-9. And, there's something better he could be focused on during warmups, I would think, than whatever it is they're talking about. Because I don't think she's like, hey, their safety comes down in the box on third down a lot, so you want to be on the lookout for him on the blitz. I mean, I don't think that's what she said. Could be. I could be totally wrong, but I'd take that wager that I'm not. And so, a guy who was famous for avoiding distractions. Remember, he wouldn't let Brady's trainer roll with the team because he said, we don't want any distractions.
Yeah.
And now there's this in North Carolina, and from media reports, I mean, they're not happy with what's happening there.
Yeah, well, they're not happy because they're 1-2. They've got the bye this week. Then they
2-2.
Then are they 2-2? And then they got they've got Clemson.
Yeah,
they beat Richmond. I remember.
Yeah, they beat Charlotte and Richmond. So that, I mean, no disrespect, but if you're an ACC team, that should count as one win. But but it's actually two. They beat Charlotte and Richmond.
That's what I had done right there. I thought Charlotte Richmond was one team. My bad. No, I'm kidding. They've got the bye, then they've got Clemson. Clemson, all sorts of problems. We don't need to get into that right now. But
you remember when the season started, everybody had that game circled. Oh man, Clemson and North Carolina, Belichick against Dabo, and now it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. So they got smoked 34-9 by UCF, and you remember that picture of Belichick and Jordan Hudson on the beach where she's like up on his legs. UCF did not miss an opportunity to
some
troll
things
him.
You can't unsee.
Yeah, and so look, that's what UCF posted after the win to just kind of rub it in. So 2-2, they're averaging 23. They're allowing 23 points per game on defense, and I got a really good friend. My buddy Dwight Fox, he went to North Carolina, diehard Tar Heel, and I talked to him before the season, asked him if he was excited about it. He's like, yeah, man, finally we're going to play some defense, and they're giving up 23 points per game so far, and they're not even into the meat of their ACC schedule, and they're 108th in offense. So they're not scoring much, and their defense is a sieve. And if you look at the schedule, they got Clemson coming up, as you mentioned. They go to Cal. And, Cal's decent, and that's a long trip. You got UVA at Syracuse. Syracuse pretty good. Home against Stanford, at Wake Forest, home against Duke, and then at NC State. Based on what they've done so far, I don't see a lot of wins there. Okay.
They need to turn it around. And in the middle of the country, Oklahoma State figured they needed to turn it around. So on the 18th anniversary week of Coach Gundy's famous rant at Oklahoma State, they gave him the boot, and that's kicking somebody out of the family. I mean, he was in his 21st season, used to be the Cowboys coach. I think, do we have the rant? Are we playing the rant there, Jeff?
And it's funny.
Yeah, we've got the rant.
If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right and may not play as well on Saturday, and you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper, because it's garbage, and the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. And then you want to write articles about things right and down that do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that's heart's broken, and then say that the coaches said he was scared. That ain't true. And then to say that we made that decision because Donovan Woods, because he threatened to transfer, that's not true. So get your facts straight. And I hope someday you have a child and somebody downgrades them and belittles them, and you have to look them in the eye and say, you know what? It's okay. They're supposed to be mature adults, but they're really not. Who's the kid here? Who's the kid here? Are you kidding me? And that's all I got to say. Makes me want to puke.
So, it's funny because that happened right around the time, I think, when things first started to go viral. You know what I mean? And as a
Yeah.
result of that, I think he may be remembered for that even more than anything he did at Oklahoma State. I mean, they never made the college football playoff. They were good a lot. They were never great. They had a chance a few years ago. I think they were pretty good down the stretch, and then kind of narrowly missed the college football playoff. But he had all that money from T. Boone Pickens, to build a stadium and build a program, and they never, they're kind of always in the shadow of Oklahoma, which has won national titles, and it's funny. I think he'll be remembered more for that than for coaching, which is kind of symbolic of the age that we live in now.
Well, yeah, a couple of things stood out. He mentioned, don't go after an amateur athlete. That's out now. There's nothing funny about a guy losing his job. First of all, let's make
No.
that abundantly clear. But he does have a $15 million buyout, so that's a little comforting as you're packing up your office and headed out. But like we met, and he was the second longest tenured coach in college football behind only Iowa's Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah.
And like I said, he was a quarterback at Oklahoma State before he was the coach. But they got beat by Tulsa. It was one thing to get whooped by Oregon. Oregon's really good. It's another thing to lose Tulsa in-state game. But you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself when you're these programs, whether you're the New York Liberty firing their coach who just won a WNBA championship last year, or you're Gundy at Oklahoma State. Who are you going to get? Who's going to be better? Who are you going to get who's more invested in a program? But then sometimes change is what a program needs. And it's a real balancing act for an athletic department to know when to push that button to eject and when to push that button to open the door to welcome somebody else in.
I've seen Zach Robinson as one of the early contenders for the Oklahoma State job, but we'll see where they go with it. But I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I think Oakland, I think Oregon broke them. I think your team broke them, and I think there was a carryover into that Tulsa game. When you get beaten like that, I mean, that game was over in a hurry, and you got to sit with that for that whole game. You know what I mean? And I think it broke them, and I think Tulsa came in and said, "Hey, look, we got them while they're down. Let's get them." And they hadn't beaten, I believe it was 1951, the last time they had one in Stillwater. And so they saw their opportunity and they took it. Yeah. So Mike Gundy out at Oklahoma State, I mean, look, that could be a really good job if they still have all that money flowing in the NIL era now. I mean, that could be a really good job for somebody. Hey, before we go, let's talk about the Ryder Cup. It gets underway on Friday. It's a team competition, U.S. and Europe. If you don't watch a lot of golf, there's 3 different formats. They play foursomes, which is alternate shot. They play that'll be in the morning on Friday and Saturday, and then they'll play best ball in the afternoon. Again, 2-man teams, and then the best score wins the hole from the 2-man teams. And then on Sunday, they play singles matches, all 12 players from the U.S. in individual matches against the 12 players from Europe. And a lot of talk, Neil, about Bryson DeChambeau this year because he's the only player on the American side that is on the Live Golf Tour and not on the PGA Tour. And Brandel Chamblee on Golf Channel just stays on him, just nonstop. I mean, Brandel Chamblee, not a big fan of Live, and he feels like it's bad for the game and the situation with the Saudis, and he's been very, very vocal about it. And so he's been letting DeChambeau have it. But the players on the team and Keegan Bradley, the Ryder Cup captain, I mean, obviously they're invested in DeChambeau helping them win, and they like the fire that he brings. I mean, he is a great player, but he's also a golf personality now. Has a tremendous fan following. He's like millions of followers on social media. Chamblee says a lot of them are bots. in his latest shot at DeChambeau. But the guys on the team say that even though he's playing on the Live Tour, like when they meet up, they're all on the PGA Tour, so they're all in the same place. He will fly in to meet with them, to be with the guys on the team, even though he's got to fly back to wherever Liv's playing. So he's inconvenienced himself to really be a part of the team. And Scotty Scheffler says he's excited to unleash him at the Ryder Cup this weekend. It's going to be in New York at Bethpage Black. And if you watch Ryder Cups in the past, the crowds get really, really rowdy. And it's unlike most golf tournaments, because most golf tournaments, first of all, you're playing as an individual. In this, you're playing on a team, and you're representing your country. And so or your continent if you're Europe. So it's a really big deal, and guys really want to take advantage of the opportunity if they get to play on a Ryder Cup team. And the players seem to like the idea, or at least they're saying publicly that they really like the idea of having DeChambeau there, because it'll help the fans get into it.
Yeah. A couple things. USA are 3 letters bigger than PGA and LIV. And my next question, have you ever golfed at Bethpage Black?
I have not. It's
Okay.
one of my bucket list courses. But, if you live in New York, it's only $70 to play it. Okay? But the caveat is, on weekends, you have to be there. So if you want to tee off at 8 o'clock, some guys spend the night in their cars overnight. And because all the players have to be present in order for you to get your ticket when they start handing out tickets to play. So Rick Riley in Sports Illustrated years ago, he wrote this fantastic story. I think it was when either the PGA Championship or the US Open was at Bethpage Black. And he tells the story about this phenomenon that all 4 players have to be there. So there's this group of guys, it's a foursome, they go every weekend. And so they figured out a system where one of them would get to sleep in every week. So they got a mannequin, and they dressed the mannequin in golf clothes, and they would put the mannequin in the car. And so the guy would come over, the starter would come over, he's like, "Hey, how many you got?" They're like, "We like 4. And so the guy's looking at him kind of funny, and he's like, no, you got 3. What do you think you're gonna get away with this?" And they're like, no, he's like, "Okay, I tell you what, everybody who wants to play the black course at Bethpage State Park, raise your hand." 3 guys raise their hand, and the mannequin's just sitting there like, "All right, here's your 3 tickets," right? So these guys are undeterred, so they try it again, and they come back, and it's 3 guys in there again, and so he's like, "You guys again?" He's like, "How many you got?" He's like, "We got 4. He's like, "Okay, are we gonna have to do this again?" He's like, "Everybody who wants to play the black course at Bethpage State Park, raise your hand." They got a string on the mannequin's arm, and they pull the mannequin's arm up, and the guy says, "Nice try. Here's your 3 tickets."
Oh, man.
So it's only $70, and you get to play a course that's hosted the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship, and the Ryder Cup for $70. If you're out of state, I believe it's like $160 or $140 during the week, $160 on weekends. So it's a real treat. It's a very hard course. They have a sign right at the start where you walk in. It says the black course is an extremely difficult course. We only recommend it for highly skilled golfers, which makes every golfer who has no business out there say, "Oh, I want to play it. I want to play it." So it's a great venue, and the fans will be served, I'm sure. Hopefully not overserved, but it's going to get raucous. I just hope it doesn't get embarrassing, because sometimes it can get over the limit, and there's some real fear about fan conduct this year. So I hope the fans are enthusiastic. I hope they root on the team, but at the same time, just like, don't let it get personal with any of the players, and don't make the fans more of a spectacle than they need to be, because it's about the players and the golf and the competition there. But Europe is probably favored to win, I would think. But the home team has won the last 5 Ryder Cups. So that's why New York could be a big advantage for the Americans. And also, the competition to watch is the alternate shot competition, the foursomes, in the morning on Friday and Saturday, because the team that has won the foursomes on Friday and Saturday, they have gone on to win the last 5 Ryder Cups as well. So both of those things, the home field advantage is working for the Americans, and we'll see how they do with the teams, because Keegan Bradley's the captain, and he's got to figure out which guys work well together, especially alternate shot. Like, which guy do I want teeing off on par threes, and which guy do I want on the longer holes? I mean, there's a lot of a decision making that goes on with being the captain. And then for singles matches, you got to decide: do I want Scheffler to play against Rahm, or do I want Scheffler to play against McIlroy? Fleetwood's been hot. He won the Tour Championship. Do I want to put my best guy against Fleetwood? So a lot of decision making, a lot of pressure on the captain. But Keegan Bradley, a very popular pick. He got left off the last Ryder Cup team, and he was on that Netflix show Full Swing. And just like with Saquon Barkley, you saw it on the show. You saw him get the call where he's left off the Ryder Cup team, and he's there with his family, and it was heartbreaking to watch, because it could have gone either way. But you see him with a camera in his face when he's denied a spot on the team as a player, and so now they make him captain this year. So that's another part of the storyline. So it's always fun to watch, and especially if it comes down to singles matches on Sunday, this could be really interesting.
Well, I think what's interesting there is Bradley had a chance to name himself as a player coach.
Yep.
And chose just to be the coach for this group, so he could concentrate just on that. So that shows him really, giving of himself to the bigger picture. Friday morning they start. That means the Stan and Neil show this Friday. Stan, you can update us on how that golf's going early on. We'll be able to up that and Stay Classy, New York. And the last thing is, I'm going to try this mannequin in my passenger seat for the HOV lane. Right?
Don't do it. I would imagine there's probably a greater penalty if you get caught with the mannequin. You probably look that up first. I'm sure people have tried it. I am sure people have tried it, especially here in LA with the way the traffic moves. But you need to check and see if there's an increased penalty if you try to fake it.
Fake it till you make it. All right. Friday, Stanley.
Yes, sir. All right. It's been fun. Thank you guys for joining us. If you missed anything, you want to watch it over, check it out on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate it. We will see you on Friday.
Let's go.
How's it? Do you know what time it is? Let's go! The Stan and Neil Show. 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 With Stan, Stan, he's the man. And who's Stan's biggest fan? Well,
It's Neil.
and Neil, Neil, he keeps it real. And that's why Neil's the deal. Stan and Neil back together again, spreading the love with all their old friends. Let's go! Stan and Neil back together for you, keeping it cool, 'cause cool's our rule. The Stan and Neil Show. 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 The Stan and Neil Show.
Yeah. All right, let me hear it all back. See what we got so far.
So, shout out to Coach D for the jingle, the Stan and Neil jingle.